Good afternoon. The Stars are on ESPN today. The point guard, CP3, struggled Friday night in Dallas. You know he'll be ready to roll today, and so will Luka Doncic. Take a look at how this man came to work today. How about the shirt? How about the 35 and 10 that he's averaging in this series? The time has come. It's countdown. And it's Game 4 coming up here on ESPN from Dallas. And we are delighted that you are ready for some basketball.
Countdown, presented by Mountain Dew.
And we are delighted that you are ready for the basketball today. That's Stephen A. Smith. That's Jalen Rose. Michael Wilbon will join us in just a moment as we get set to take you to Dallas. I am Mike Greenberg, and we begin with today's Fight for Victory, brought to you by Modelo. As we saw the other night, it was the Mavericks with the win they desperately needed at home, finding a way to make this a 2-1 series. Devin Booker and the Suns, the defending Western Conference champions, looking to put a stranglehold if they can get the win on the road this afternoon today. Stephen A. Smith, what are your thoughts as we bring Michael into the conversation? Stephen A., what is your expectation as far as today's Game 4?
Well, my expectation is for the Phoenix Suns to answer the call. They are led by their backcourt of CP3 and Devin Booker. I expect CP3 to make up for the 7 turnovers he committed in Game 3, all in the first half. And I remember Reggie Bullock talking to Devin Booker in a very, very disrespectful way. I expect Devin Booker to respond in kind. I think there's going to be a big game from the Phoenix Suns backcourt, and as a result, they'll pull out this game.
Jalen.
They play really well, Stephen. They let them front run a little bit, let them enjoy it, but I agree with you. D. Booker's going to respond. I'm looking to see the continued dominance of Luka. He's averaging 35, 10, and 8 in this series. And against Mikal Bridges, he's shooting 69% in the post, in the paint, at the 3. Can they slow Luka down just a little bit? I don't think so. That's what I'm looking for.
So the Suns are in Texas. Michael Wilbon is in Arizona. Michael, what is your expectation for this afternoon?
Well, we know Luka is going to be more prolific. That's what he does. The ball is in his hands the entire game for Dallas. But I'm looking at who's going to have a greater impact. The last time Chris Paul had what we would call a bad game, a non-Chris Paul game, and that was in the New Orleans series, and he was like, 2 for 4, he had 4 points in that game, 2 for 8 shooting. He came back the next game with 22 points and 11 assists. And then the next game, just a sort of confirmation, he went 14 for 14. So nothing sort of annoys Chris Paul like having a non-Chris Paul game. I'm sure he was all in those notebooks and his own personal notes. And then this is what he does to get prepared anyway. But if he has an off night, he responds. That's what I'm expecting.
Well, the reason why I'm looking for Booker more so than CP3 is that everyone else on the squad, their level of exceptionalism is usually contingent upon CP3 feeding them. Even though he feeds Devin Booker too, Devin Booker's the one guy on their squad who doesn't need Chris Paul to do anything for him. He could go out there and get his offense going all on his own. And considering how motivated he should be going into Game 4, I believe that's what will happen.
I agree with Stephen A. because while the Suns have the best backcourt in the league, they need to feature Ayton as much as possible. He has to take advantage and punish smaller lineups. He has a good touch around the basket. He has a soft jump shot from 15 feet. They have to find a way to get him to dominate when he's in.
Michael, desperation sometimes does the work for a team, and the Mavs had that on Friday night. I don't think any of us were that surprised that they played big. But if you look at the way Golden State looked last night, and look, I'm not taking anything away from Memphis, and we'll see what the situation is with John Morant going forward. But the Warriors look like a team ready to do some business and move forward. Maybe a little pressure on the Suns to make sure they don't get pushed to 6 or 7 games in this series.
It was interesting talking to, and Jalen and Stephen A. know this, talking to our friend of many, many decades and colleague, Irvin Johnson. Magic would talk about being in the playoffs, even in an early round in the Western Conference. Maybe they're playing Seattle or Utah or somebody, and yet he was playing the Boston Celtics and Larry Bird. And Magic could admit that years and years later it was the truth. Players don't talk about that in real time. Jalen knows you're required to say, essentially, we're taking it one game at a time. But that's not the reality. You know that the Phoenix Suns took great note of what the Golden State Warriors are doing last night, and that is somewhere in their thoughts, not as they take the court, but in terms of preparing and looking at the playoffs.
And also, you want to play less games. You saw what happened with Joel Embiid, for example, against the Raptors. He ended up getting injured. And you look at so many teams that have been devastated by injuries, including these Phoenix Suns.
Listen, here's the bottom line. Dallas is no joke. We know that. We know what Luka is doing. Jalen Brunson did have 28 in Game 3. We can't ignore that. Bullock had 15. But these are the Phoenix Suns, who basically were shooting better than 50% from the field the entire postseason until Game 3. I expect them to make amends for that putrid performance in Game 3 and for them to answer the call today.
All right, we're getting set to send you to Dallas. Mark Jones, Richard Jefferson, Cassidy Hupp.
Game 3 was Giannis' 5th career playoff game with at least 40 points and 10 rebounds. That's the most in Bucks history. The only players league-wide with more such games over the last 25 years, LeBron James and Shaquille O'Neal. Giannis wasn't sure if he should say more about Game 3.
Mr. Dan, is Mr. Dan here? No? Barry, how much does it cost if I say something, a comment about the ref? Is it 20,000? It's a lot of money, eh? So I should not do it. I save my money. I got to pay for diapers.
There is never an issue when it comes to saving money, especially when it comes to 20,000. Am I right, Jalen?
Giannis like, get your hands out my pocket. I ain't mad at him. Plus, he played with his older brother, so it totally makes sense.
Exactly. So, Jalen, after struggling from the field in the first 2 games of the series, how did Giannis bounce back this afternoon?
He continued to attack and didn't settle. Early in the game, he shot a couple of threes. He missed a couple of free throws, but he didn't stop being aggressive. He played like a guy that's a defending champion, somebody that's been MVP of this league, and somebody that's very much the unstoppable force that we have in the game, the best player in the NBA. As he strides through the entire Boston Celtics defense, it doesn't matter who's guarding him, an equal opportunity employer. And now all of a sudden he wants to make his teammates better. Drive, kick, and that's Wesley Matthews, the guy that's making threes, who was also in the jersey the entire game of Jason Tatum.
All right, speaking of Tatum, he shot 4 of 19 from the field this afternoon. What did you see the Bucks do differently to slow him down today?
Wesley Matthews, he was 0 for 10 when being guarded by him. Took away his airspace, took away his legs, did a great job of contesting everything, and he stayed poised. He didn't do a lot of gambling. He didn't do a lot of fouling. They stayed in front of him. Drew Holiday fighting over and under screens, doing the dryer, getting over and under the screen with the contest, and Giannis with the rebound, getting the team on transition. Here playing without fouling, making a play in the crowd, getting the defensive board, getting out in transition. Frustrating Jason Tatum the entire game, along with Marcus Smart. The Milwaukee Bucks took this game on their home floor.
My man knows his basketball, and he's also got the crispiest hairline in the game. Jalen Rose, thank you, brother.
Appreciate you, family.